Cool.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Just in case you cannot see them, we have our facilities team is sitting in Chenery Hall. So we have Rob Quinn, who's our new facilities director, and then Shane and Ben as well, who are on our facilities team, who have also been assisting with developing our municipal buildings capital plan for fiscal year 26 and beyond.
Hello, all. Looks like we have a quorum here, so I'll read the opening statement. We'll call us to order. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which, among other things, further extends temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Coming up, any or all members of a public body may continue to participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. The meeting is being recorded. All votes will be taken by roll call vote, and we'll begin the open session by asking each remote member to introduce themselves, beginning with Andrew.
Andrew Foster, town accountant, present.
Eileen, Center Square.
Oh, all right. So I'm up top on mine. I'm Murphy Select Board.
Christine.
Christine Trueweiler, town administrator, participating
Michael.
remotely.
Michael LaFrancesca, Director of Finance Operation, participating remotely.
Brent.
Brent Nelson, participating remotely.
Rob.
Rob Egler, participating remotely.
And Mike Marcucci also participating remotely. So thanks, everyone. And sorry I was a minute late logging into the Zoom. All right, so we have on the agenda to start with Parks and Recreation. Is that still good, Frank, or do you want to start with municipal buildings? Because we have people actually assembled in a meeting space for this meeting.
I
So you
think
get extra points for that.
I think facilities, I could be wrong, but I think facilities may be helpful for both of those subjects.
Okay.
Because they have been assisting with some of them, especially the Metacomet, and actually the modular space as well. So I can promote, we have Katie, Mel, and Nick from Parks and Rec, so I'll promote them now.
Great. Welcome, Katie.
Good morning.
Morning. And welcome to Nick and Mel.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
All right. Hi, Mel.
Good morning, Michael.
Good to hear your voice. All right. Where do we want to start? Katie, Frank, somebody start talking.
I'm not sure. Do you want? I can go. I can go about Park and Recreation.
Anyone can go. If somebody wants to say words related to Parks and Recreation and potentially modular space, just fire away. The floor is yours.
So I can talk quickly. I will leave modular space more Robin facilities just because we're still in the inner workings of that. When it comes to the capital project for this year, it was voted at the commission meeting last week that we are going not to move forward with the SUV as well as the strategic plan. We're going to take $80,000 from those projects and move it towards the Metacomic resurfacing, as well as repurposing the leftover money from the lighting project to also go to resurfacing from our last year's capital project. There is about around a $3,000 retainer from the tennis courts that we held that we do need to pay, that they just finished all of that work. Ben from Facilities has been great helping with that company. We're just tracking down that last bill from them. And so for us in capital projects, that's where we would be for this fiscal year, as well as the modular.
So actually, Frank, if you can put up the Metacomet tennis courts worksheet that we've been working with the warrant committee chairs with.
Yep, do it right now.
Thank you.
Sorry, our everybody's favorite DPW director just stopped by, so.
So I have been working with Parks and Recreation and with the chairs of the warrant committee to try and figure out how we can get Metacomet tennis courts done for this year. It's become more and more clear how important this is, especially since we did the light last year. And so we have this fantastic lighting system, but we don't actually have courts to play on. There was some concern last week that given some damage to them recently, that Parks and Recreation would have to shut them down. I have been working with the school department. You know, they're going to have to find temporary space for the spring varsity and JV tennis teams. So I believe they're looking at space over at Kingsbury for that. So what Steve Callahan and I walked through this yesterday, we're proposing, as Katie mentioned, 80,000 would go toward the Metacomet. We have roughly $50,000 in the Metacomet lighting turnback. The chairs of the warrant committee believe that 190,000 from free cash will be added to what we plan on appropriating into the capital stabilization fund. And I've also been notified by the assessors that they will be releasing an amount of money during the overlay. And so we have a new quote. Originally, I think you remember this was $500,000. New quote from the company that is out actually doing the high school tennis courts and doing the sport court behind public safety. And they believe this project can be done for $370,000 versus the 500. It would go out to bid, but this company has also indicated they'd be willing to start in May on this project, which is better than we had been hearing from some of the other tennis court facilities that have been recently done. So we're proposing this funding mechanism to get Metacomet done this year.
Christine, can I just add that the tennis courts at the high school came in under budget. So if, you know, there's a contingency factor that we might be able to take a contingency from the tennis courts, but as of right now, we can't make it an official offer because we're still in the middle of the project, but there could be a contingency that we could support if needed.
I appreciate that. And we had talked as well that the project at public safety came in under budget as well, but the timing of that project where it won't be completed till around town meeting time, we couldn't commit those funds. However, those funds will be turned back to the capital stabilization fund next year at next year's town meeting.
Any questions from the committee about the tennis courts?
No. That's a great price, Christine. It's nice to see for sure.
Yeah, we were very excited when it came in last night.
Yeah, that's a big surprise. That's great. And that includes everything, right? Like, you know, or do we have to call in separate contractors for lining and all that good stuff?
I will send over the quote they gave us and you can review that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mike, This is, I don't know if you guys can hear us. This is Ben with facilities.
Yeah, we got
So
you.
that quote would be all-inclusive, taking the existing asphalt out and subgrade to the final striping of the quarter. So,
Less the fence.
yeah, everything except for leaving the
Yeah,
fence
yeah,
in place.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was also a contingency included within that quote, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
For escalation,
Wow.
Frank.
Yes.
Anything else? I mean, I think this makes sense, and if we're looking for a recommendation from the committee to support this, I'm certainly supportive of it.
I think we'd be looking for a vote today. We voted the remainder of the capital budget, but we had held off on Parks and Recreation. So I think we just need a vote to include this in our plan.
So is there a motion to recommend including this in our capital plan for this year?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to include this in our capital plan for this year.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call. Eileen,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So that's done. All right, now modular space.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, Katie.
with the modular space, we have been looking at different options. We feel that the 48 by 60 option, and Frank has been helping us out a lot with, we're moving forward. We think it's in the best interest, given the circumstances of everything going on with the school project, to lease a modular for the year. And so we are going down that endeavor of hopefully leasing a 48 by 60 modular. This will give us opportunity for office space, but as well as at least an opportunity to host some classes at this modular. We're currently hoping to put the modular at Hinckley. Dale was our first choice. However, given the circumstances of the school project, Hinckley is also a great option. So we're in the process of seeing if we can set it up at Hinckley, as well as the 48 by 60 leasing it for the year.
And Kate, did you all look at potential rental space around town too?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently in the UCC. This is where our offices are based out of for the next 6 months. We are paying $1,250 per month, as well as leasing room space here. So it's $35 a day per room for programming. We are also running our programming. We're trying to pivot to as many municipal buildings as possible to cut down that cost of the per day per rent. So we are operating out of the COA, public safety, library, for some of our additional programming. It's just noted that unfortunately right now we've had to cancel some of our multi-sport programs. Although the FAF was small, it was mighty, and we had that multi-purpose big room. We're just not able to offer a lot of those programs because we don't have substantial space for it. That is something that we as the commission, as well as myself, are looking for future endeavors. There is a church in town that has a basketball court that has potential that we could rent in the fall. But that would be something that we want to look into more in depth, just because it is a little bit more pricier, but it's also a full gym. So that's where we're currently operating programming out of.
And what's the total cost of the modulars?
Frank, would you be able to pull up that screen?
So the 1 year lease cost for the 48 by 60, I think, was around all in with delivery, setup, removal, was around 150,000.
So we budgeted 165. There will be some other expenses in terms of connecting it to water and sewer, electric. So we felt comfortable with a budget number of 165.
And we can't lease existing space in town for less than 165. I mean, that seems like a big number.
I would defer to the Parks and Recreation Commission on this. It's my understanding that Parks and Recreation would like the modular so that they can set up at Hinkley Pond in order to
Right.
continue running their ponds.
Yeah, for the
Kinda
amount
can't.
of space that we need, Mike, you know, we've looked, we haven't found anything yet, from and even from a long term. The Hinkley Pond setup would be ideal because of the summer camps, and that is our biggest revenue driver for this. You know, I agree, it is a substantial cost, but you know, we've got a lot of offsetting costs as well, not being at the FAF Center, just from a maintenance perspective, and you know, efficiencies of heat and other utilities that are brought in there. But if there's anybody that can share a potential lease opportunity someplace else, would be more than happy to look at it, but there's really nothing out there that would accommodate that size for that duration of time.
I'll throw it out there that I actually reached out to Mark Green because I know he owns the building that CrossFit Medfield's in. And he had said that they just re-upped it for another 5 years. So, because that would have been ideal. That has the sport
That's-
court. Yeah, but
Yeah,
unfortunately,
that's an absolutely perfect spot.
I mean, have we talked to any of the sort of real estate brokers or other landlords in town about what space is potentially available? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that the leasing environment is good in Medfield and most space is leased up, but I think historically there's been vacancies in places you wouldn't necessarily think of. And again, I don't necessarily disagree that having the modular at Hinkley would work and would be ideal, but you know, for that kind of an outlay, we might be able to get something or do a little bit of both. In other words, have a smaller, less expensive one at Hinkley and then use the space someplace else.
So I think one of the things we talked about at the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting last week was originally this was a proposal to purchase the modular. And we went with the lease option, just to give you more context of how we got here. We went with the lease option because I think there's too many unknown questions right now. Well, actually, there's too many unknown answers to the questions that are out there. Is there going to be you know, a public-private collaboration or partnership up on the sledding hill with the gentleman who's proposed a project up there? You know, how does this impact Parks and Recreation now that we have MSBA funding? What's going to happen there? I didn't think it was appropriate to take this kind of you know, $700,000 request to town meeting without having the answers to any of those questions, because those are the first ones that will be asked. And that's why we started going towards the leasing option. But I would defer again to Parks and Recreation about their space. I know Frank did a tremendous job looking at all of the rental options that were available, and we couldn't find one that fit the needs of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I'll support what you just said. I actually watched the recording of the Parks and Rec meeting last night, and I do appreciate the idea of it's not ideal. It's a short-term fix, a 1-year lease, but it does give us flexibility to look at what may be coming up in the future. So, you know, if there is space, let's just say where today the pizza joint and the Far East and all that, like that's a big industrial complex. But knowing that we've got to address this, I would ask, and I don't know whether Nick or Mel or Katie, you know, doing simple math, let's just say it's 13 grand a month. When you talked about Nick not having to spend certain dollars, it would actually be helpful to see what do you guys particularly spend a month,
Right.
and subtract that from what the 13K. But you know, we've got a $2 million problem in terms of tearing that building down. We've got the site that we now know at least a new school will be built, either built or ad reno at that location. There's a lot going on at Dale that we need to, as a community, working with the school building committee, figure out what's best for there. So as much as I know, Mike, this might be a a steep bill. I think from a logical standpoint to the citizens come the May town meeting, listening to the logic that was applied during the Parks and Rec meeting last week, I think we are trying to do what's best and at least give the parents whose kids are in these camps some form of a solution. So it's not, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. At least there's some form of stake in the ground.
That's a great point, Eileen. I've talked to Katie and we're putting numbers together on kind of the expenses that are no longer, hitting Park and Rec, or the surprises that we get year over year, whether it's a boiler or fixing windows or whatnot. I think the primary thing is the location. It's disruptive enough that we're in this situation. Hinckley really is, a prime destination for us. And, for the short term, I personally think it's the best solution, especially coming into our high revenue season. If we were to look at how much money we're saving just on utility costs, even at the bottom line, it's going to be affected. As Katie had mentioned, some of our programs are being canceled because we just don't have that space to accommodate them. But I think with this building, it'll put us back in really strong form for our programming needs, and really the location. That's a prime location. Anything in town or very close to town is super important to us.
Yeah, and just to give context too, is I've been able to talk to a lot of our families. We had a good amount of families on the commission call, worried about camp, but also in general. We don't just offer basketball programs, softball. We're doing STEM classes. That this has disrupted their schedule. The other thing too to think for location wise is our camp is predominantly out of Dale Street. Regardless if the FAF was closed or not, we have 5 to 8-year-olds walking to the pond. So if we start to move places, it's ideal to have a waterway just because it is a warmer summer. But even off of the summer months, we have a lot of programming that we feel, both Jackie and I, as well as Kirsty, is looking at this. This is going to create opportunities for us to potentially grow our outdoor programming, because we will have a station at Hinckley, so we can do more outside stuff, which has been recommended from families. Like we do nature walks. We are potentially partnering with the Fairy Walk this year, is being able to give other opportunities. That this is kind of what we're learning, is we're pivoting, and now we're going to be pivoting to Hinckley, which is we can do maybe some additional programming that we wouldn't able to do, better parking situation, as well as a brand new playground. We really do feel like this is a great location, but also not just for summer camp, but even throughout the school years where we do a lot of our programming.
And just we had a question in the Q&A about the annual cost. Christine, you're carrying at $165,000 a year as the cost for this, of the lease plus the utilities, and that would be the cost if it continued beyond this year as well. Be $165,000.
That's what we're anticipating. We expect that there would be, a small incremental increase. We are talking to them about the possibility of, a lease to own option, as we've done in the past with a few things. So we're still investigating the best way to handle that. I do want to give another piece of information that came out during the Parks and Recreation meeting, is that due to the timing, Parks and Recreation can't wait for town meeting for the modular. So they are going to put the modular in probably in the April to May timeframe. They're going to pay for the first several months out of their revolving fund. The anticipation would be, once we got approval at town meeting, I should say if, never anticipate from town meeting. If we got the approval at town meeting, then we would refund the Parks and Recreation revolving fund for those 3 months. Parks and Recreation also committed that if town meeting did not vote to put the modular at Hinckley, as Rob Tatro said, we've got bigger issues if that's the case, if town meeting isn't going to support that. But Parks and Recreation recognizes they would be on the hook to pay for that monthly modular cost until August, when camp ended.
Christine, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So there's going to be a mobility cost to transport. There's also going to be a cost to connect utilities. Is that included in that first 3 months? Because those costs, just from experience, pretty expensive.
Yes, they recognize that.
Okay.
Right, but once that's in, then the ongoing cost is a little lower, right? So the annual would be, you say it's
Correct.
$13,000 a month is the lease cost, the base lease
Mhm.
cost. So, right, so it would be a minimum then of, about $150,000, $145,000, $150,000 just in lease cost, assuming that the lease rate goes up after this year.
Correct.
All right. That all makes sense to me. Anyone else have any questions, objections, or concerns? I mean, I appreciate the work that went into this, and it's
I do have one other
are.
bit of information on how we would fund this.
Yeah.
So I'm anticipating and requesting $65,000 from the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund. The remaining $100,000 would come from the release of the overlay from the assessors.
Got it. Okay.
Hmm.
Can I ask about that? Because it also came up with the tennis courts. I mean, I had to remind myself what the assessor's overlay account does, but from the point of view of the warrant committee, we'd probably want to know, or I'd probably be asked to report what impact that would have on that much coming out of that account all at one time, 150,000 total.
So the assessors, they will release that shortly, and they will make a presentation to the warrant committee as to their thought process in releasing that money.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad, like just thinking about we couldn't just do a swap with St. Edwards and let them build a new church someplace else, because that building would be ideal for Parks and Rec. You have the gym, you have all the space, you have all the everything else, the big parking lot, right? That would be, I mean, it's closer to a Parks and Rec building than a church overall, but probably not in the cards. But any other discussion on this? Could have a motion to recommend approval. Is that what we're looking for? A motion to recommend approval of the modular as part of the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund?
Yes, I don't know if you want to go through, the facilities teams here to go through the whole Municipal Building Stabilization Fund, and we've included that as part of the presentation. So
Sure.
we can vote on the whole thing when we get to it. But
Let's do that. Let's do that. We can turn
Perfect.
it over to the facilities team and go through the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund.
Good morning. My name is Rob Quinn. I'm the new facilities director. I'm joined here by Ben, excuse me, and Shane. What's being presented today is 2026 request with the understanding, once we receive the 20-year capital plan from Arrow Street, we'll give a 5-year forecast. I'd also like personally to, I've been employed in the town for about a month and a half now. I'd like to spend some more time in the buildings and get a greater understanding of what the true needs are and prioritize those. And that's the reason we didn't forecast out anything. So we'll start at the high school. We have electrical upgrades at 15,000, building envelope at 25,000. And when I say building envelope, it can be dumbed down to anything you can touch on the exterior of the building, which would include roof, flashing, windows, exterior doors, the repointing of brick and so forth, foundation maintenance. There's an entity inside that uses a space inside the high school right now, the Medfield Outreach Group, that does great work in town from what I understand. The space isn't serving them properly right now. And we're looking to build out that space. We had an architect in the space yesterday with some preliminary plans. The goal is to maximize the space with some private offices and also a conference room for those people. We'll be working up hard numbers on that going forward with the thought of getting that space built out over the summer. We're also requesting $40,000 for flooring. Right off the top, the auditorium needs a new rug, and the history hall's in tough shape. HVAC improvement repairs. As you know, the building was built in 1966. We're still almost fully on pneumatic controls over there. There's 35 plus air handling units, 60 plus exhaust fans, which all need to be maintained and pretty much brought up to present day controls. So we'll be picking that off, and we're requesting $135,000 to be put there. Site work for $10,000. And you'll see on every school building layout that we put a roof replacement cost. And that's just so that everyone in town, including this committee, understands that this is today's dollars. Not saying it needs to be funded today, but we just need to have it to be on everyone's radar that these roofs do need to be reviewed and replaced at some point. So the roof right now, today's dollars for the high school is $6.6 million. Any questions on the high school?
I just have a quick one. You know, and I asked this because I think of what we just talked about at Metacomet tennis courts. Like, it's crazy that we went from a good court to where it is right now. It's unplayable. So when I hear you comment about the building envelope, I live here on Metacomet Street, from a stone's throw from the high school. Like, when I look out front of the auditorium of the high school, and that cement is horrible, and I walk my dog there, and I think somebody's going to turn an ankle one of these days if they're in heels or something without a level shoe. Would that be something that would be addressed?
Are you talking about paving?
Yeah, well, not paving. It's actually the cement. If you were to walk into the Medfield High School auditorium and look to the left, I don't know if we got bad concrete when they did that, but it's horrible. I mean, it's very uneven. And every time I walk by, I think, oh, somebody's going to roll an ankle. Something's going to happen. So I'm wondering if that's one of the things that when you have the 25,000 listed with building envelope, would repairing corroded cement in the entrance to a main entrance to the high school be addressed? So
yes, and then also if you see on the spreadsheet, you've got site work for 10,000. So
Okay.
I would consider that more of a site piece than a building envelope.
And I don't think that's bad concrete. I've talked to people about it that are in the building industry, and they're like, there was a period in the state of Massachusetts where I know the construction sites got bad cement, and if you were to walk around, just the way that jumps out, like there's the other cement is manageable, but that one section is just weird. But just throw it there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so like I said, in my introduction, I've been here a month and a half. I'm going to need to, get my head around a number of things, and one of those, is, the sites. And the positive is, Shane's been in the district for quite a number of years, and he has a very good feeling for what needs to be done. So with the three of us working together, our goal is, like I said, to project and put hard numbers towards what is really a priority.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to Blake. I guess I don't need to read.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, Megan Sullivan, participating remotely. Sorry I was late. Can we talk about the Medfield outreach work?
Sure.
Is that, this really a committee question? Is this something that really belongs in the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund? Or you're identifying needs that we need to find sources for? Just wondering what the group thinks.
Why wouldn't it be in the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund?
It seems to me that it's like a programmatic update of space rather than a repair of deferred maintenance and taking care of the building.
Well, I think the Municipal Building Stabilization also allows for new construction or that kind of thing. It's not programmatic space. The space isn't big enough for them with the current office setup that it is. And so they're adding people. So we're changing their physical space. So I think it's appropriate in this fund, but where would you put it otherwise?
I almost think it belongs in the capital fund more than it belongs, even though it's a building expense, it's like a programmatic thing we decide upon. I don't know, just a question.
Well, I think if that's the case, then the modular would belong in the capital budget too, then.
Well, one's we're solving a disaster, a crisis, and one is moving forward on program. I was just asking.
I don't think it's program though,
every-
because we've hired employees and we don't have space. We don't have office space for them.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me being it's a building expense. I mean, we're reconfiguring the building, but we do that with other things as well, or it doesn't have to be exactly one-to-one a
Yeah.
replacement. I mean, I think it would be probably saving us what it would cost us to build out space or buy space or acquire that space someplace else. I would assume.
I don't doubt the need. I'm just wondering about the use in the stabilization fund because I think it was intended to address maintenance and deferred maintenance needs, not kind of new program. But
I would
I just
disagree
wanted
with that. I would disagree if you look at the warrant article that was passed in 2018 and the purpose of the fund. I don't think it's just deferred
We
maintenance.
went by, oh no, we're going.
What?
So any department who wanted to renovate their space would come through and put in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Are you all set? All right, so we'll move on to Blake. I'm not going to read these to you. You have them in front of you. I mean, we can, if you have any questions on any of these, I mean, it's pretty much across the board. It's going to be HVAC upgrades, flooring upgrades, site work, and building envelope, with the understanding that these roof replacement numbers are today's numbers, knowing that somehow the town has to digest that. You know, I'll take questions if anybody has anything regarding the rest of the buildings.
Rob, the only thing that maybe you want to touch base is on the paving.
So 235, we have for district-wide paving and parking lot renovations. Right now, my understanding is Blake needs quite a bit of work in the parking lot. And when we say paving, we're not only referencing the parking lot, we're also referencing catch basins and sidewalks and so forth, and striping. So our hope is to phase everything, much like we're doing inside the buildings on the outside, is continuing to upgrade our existing parking lots. And again, that would tie also to, almost like you said earlier, ma'am, the concrete in front of the high school. So these things need to be done in phases. And that's my goal, is over the next 3 to 6 months, prioritize that phasing layout. We good on the school buildings?
Could I just ask a question out of curiosity? For the roof replacement estimates, is that essentially just take the square footage and multiply by a number, or is each building kind of unique in the nature of the cost of the roofs should they have to be replaced?
It's unique to the building. Mainly, the largest variable would be the type of roof that's on the building. For example, at Memorial School, you have an adhered built-up roof, an adhered ballast built-up roof, which requires much more called demo cost. So yeah, they're independent to the school. I mean, you can use a number and carry it. I got these numbers off of the draft that Arrow Street did for us on their 20-year capital plan. I added about 3% to each one of the numbers, and that's how we got to these numbers.
Great, thanks.
No questions on the school buildings?
No.
So we'll move to the town buildings. So we start at the town hall. The site work, the exterior of the town hall, including the grounds, needs quite a bit of work. If you notice going in the front door that, the bricks are uneven, they're pitched incorrectly. Our goal is to get the front of that building and the sidewalks around the building to present day ADA compliance, and eliminate any type of tripping hazards. And same thing at the public library. We have an architect coming out. Ben, is it Wednesday next week?
Friday.
Right? To review it. give us some bid package put together. We can get on the street and try to get this stuff moving right away. The goal in town, from what I can see on the short time that I've been here, our HVAC systems are still, for the most part, pneumatic. Our goal is to get DDC, which is direct digital controls, automatic temperature controls in all the buildings, and try to minimize the use of multiple different systems and work off of 1 to 2 platforms. Goal is to get to 1 platform that we can use to manage these systems. And once we get the head end in every building of digital controls, we'll be able to remote into each building, get alarms at each building if there's a failure of a pump, a boiler, or an air handler, so that when the public or students and staff come into the building the next morning, they're not walking into a disaster. That our goal is to be able to get ahead of all of this, which is what is a modern buildings. This is common practice, but unfortunately, we're not there at all the buildings yet. And as you look through this list and you see HVAC improvements, that's what our end goal is at every building.
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
None for me. Any questions from the committee?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
So excuse me, I had sent around the basically a look forward of the municipal building stabilization fund balance. Just stop my share for a second here so I can open that up. So with the 1.533 million total, there are a couple of other funding sources that were mentioned there, but the total coming out of the municipal buildings fund was 1.533 million. And so that would leave us, let's get this up.
Yeah, $300,000 balance.
All right. So last year we appropriated a little under 1.8 million. Our balance as of December 31st in the municipal buildings fund is 477,000. The select board have it on their agenda for Tuesday to we think approve the override amount for fiscal year 2026. Right now, the facilities department estimates that there will be at least $181,000 of funds from completed projects turned back to the fund. We think that number may go up, but we didn't want to estimate some of the other projects that aren't complete yet. So we do think that this number in column D will go up. And like I said, the current estimate right now is 1.533 million to come out of the fund in fiscal year 26 if all these projects were to be approved by town meeting. Assuming next year's override amount is approved, we would have about $1.5 million going into next fiscal year 2027 capital plan.
Hey, Frank,
Yes.
just have a quick question. So that, those numbers don't include what we talked about at the beginning of this meeting with the Metacomet repairs, correct? Is that impacted?
There is a number in here for the
Metacomet will come from the capital stabilization, not the municipal building stabilization.
yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
I had a question, and this is really much more forward thinking than than the fiscal 2020 26. And Christine, you would just your comments on what I wanted to ask would be very helpful as well. Looking at an approximate $19 million total for the school roofs. Is that the type of thing that probably would have to be, or probably would be funded, funded through a general, a general, I'm sorry, a debt issuance?
Yes, I think, Michael, I will defer to
Yeah.
you about how we can do the accelerated roof repair as well.
Yep. So, which is a great question. So we can apply for the accelerated repair program through the MSBA. We can apply for next year because the project for Dale Street has been approved. So we will be applying, hopefully. I think it's either going to be the Blake Middle School or the Memorial School roof project. You can only apply for one school at a time, which
Okay.
have a reimbursement rate. So the difference between the reimbursement rate and what the cost is would be what the town would pay for it. We did talk in the past that we would utilize some of the money from this account to pay off the debt. So those figures, once we have them, will be built in to that 20-year capital plan that Rob was talking about.
Did you, okay, so is it, I guess, each request of the state MSBA, is that each funding request then would be for each school then, I guess, something along those lines?
Yeah, correct. So we would apply first for, like I said, either the Blake Middle School or Memorial School, and then from that point on, we would try to apply every year until we got all the roofs replaced.
And that's no, and just so I understand, so the source of the funds would be bonds issued by the authority, I guess, and then lent to the town.
So correct. So the MSBA would give us a portion of the funding, and then we would have to go out whatever we decided on. If we decided to pay the remainder of the bond through the stabilization account, or from another source, that's something that the town would decide on.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else on this?
Nope.
Waiting
for me to have. Waiting for you.
Any objections or concerns or anything on any of this, or can we take a vote to recommend approval of these projects as for the municipal building stabilization fund for this year? Right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the stabilization fund? Is there a sum you want me to put to that, Mike, or just leave it at that?
I think as reflected in the recommendation, as reflected in the request.
Okay.
Right.
Then I'll motion to approve the stabilization fund as reflected in the information shared at this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we'll start with Rob.
Approve.
Megan,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Eileen,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Christine. Christine,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Great work, everyone, putting this together. Much appreciated. It's good to see this process running smoothly, and we'll certainly look forward to getting the 20-year capital report.
I will also be reaching out to everybody to find out your availability to have a conversation regarding sidewalks with the select board and why we're not addressing them through the capital plan. So thinking February.
Super.
Awesome.
Any other business anyone would like to raise? Is our work here done now, Frank, or are we going to need to have a further meeting?
I think we will need one more quick meeting to review water and sewer.
Okay.
They're still work. I know that their last board meeting, or I should say their January board meeting. No, actually at their December board meeting, they started an initial review of their budgets. That continued into January. And so I'm hopeful that they will have it finalized at their February meeting. And I will speak with Mo about that today, just to figure that all out. So I'm sure I'll be in touch soon about scheduling something for February.
Okay, great. Let's make sure that for that one, we're all caught up on minutes for our meetings, and we can have all that approved and done if
Yes.
that's going to be our last one.
Yep. My
So-
apologies.
No need to
Excuse me,
apologize. Just
Yeah, so go ahead.
go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, Frank, I wanted to ask you, is there a change to the capital stabilization fund, given that there would be 190,000 from the fund to help pay for the tennis court replacements and renovations, or does it stay where it is right now?
So I think I'm happy to send out an updated spreadsheet. I think that the new amount that would be put in would be the same new amount to be taken out. So the projections that we were looking at a couple of months ago would stay the same because it would basically net out. But I'll plan on sending out an updated spreadsheet regardless, just to show that.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
So I see there's a question.
I'm sorry, Eileen, I didn't hear you.
I see there's a question. Mike.
Question is, what is the estimated date of completion for the 20-year facilities plan?
I can answer that. We're just waiting for some feedback from a few departments. I think the Energy Committee is supposed to be giving me their comments. Once we get those comments, we'll meet with Arrow Street, incorporate all of that, and we should be finalizing it shortly. But I would say sometime in the later spring, early summer.
Great. All right, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second. All right, then we'll start with Rob,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you all. Good work. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bill? 6/14/53. Don't tell anyone. Oop.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, none. (6/14/53).
Name about 10 minutes.
Great. Thank you very much. You as well.
Laura F.
Ah. Oh, shit. The hell is this? Lesion. Oh, hi. And